I was mid-sentence in the executive meeting when Derek Harding interrupted me. The new VP of Operations smiled coldly and said I was terminated effective immediately. Security was on their way. I tried to explain about the funding meeting in 2 hours. He laughed. "I'll have you escorted out," he said, waving his hand dismissively. 2 guards appeared at the door. I looked around the conference table at faces I'd worked with for 7 years. No one met my eyes. Derek didn't understand what he'd just done. As they walked me out, I knew the $330 million deal was now worthless. My hands were shaking as the security guards flanked me down the hallway. Every step felt surreal. Employees I'd mentored, collaborated with, shared lunches with for years stopped and stared. Whispers followed me like a wave. My assistant Jenny stood frozen at her desk, her face pale with shock. She opened her mouth to speak, but one of the guards shook his head. She looked down at her keyboard, fingers motionless. They took me to my office first. I watched as they confiscated my phone, my laptop, my access badge. Everything I'd used to do my job for the last 7 years was stripped away in minutes. They stood over me while I emptied my desk drawers into a cardboard box. Personal photos. A coffee mug from my college graduation. A small plant that had somehow survived my sporadic watering. The weight of that box felt heavier than it should have. The walk through the lobby was the worst part. The receptionist who'd greeted me cheerfully every morning for years kept her eyes glued to her computer screen. The security guards escorted me all the way to my car in the parking garage. When they finally left me alone, I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what had just happened. It was 3:15 in the afternoon. The funding meeting started at 5. I pulled out my personal phone with trembling fingers and called Howard, the CFO. It went straight to voicemail. He was probably in pre-meeting prep, reviewing the final documentation for the Westbrook Industries deal. The deal I had structured. The deal that was about to collapse. I tried texting him. The message showed undelivered. I stared at my phone screen, refreshing it twice. Still undelivered. Derek had already blocked me from company systems. How had he moved that fast? I called the main office line. The receptionist answered on the second ring. "Hi, this is Sadie. I need to speak with Howard immediately. It's urgent." There was a pause. "I'm sorry. You've been removed from all contact lists. I can't transfer you. This is about the Westbrook deal, the funding meeting. Please, just tell Howard that Sadie called. Tell him it's about the insurance clause." "I can't do that, I'm sorry." She hung up. My heart was pounding. I tried calling Patricia Donovan, the CEO. Her executive assistant Diane answered. "Patricia Donovan's office." "Diane, it's Sadie. I need to speak with Patricia right now. It's an emergency." Diane's voice turned cold. "Patricia is unavailable. She's been informed of your termination. She doesn't understand." The Westbrook deal. The insurance clause requires my authenticated presence. If I'm not there, the entire deal falls apart. Patricia is aware of the complaints Derek filed about your performance. She's in meetings all afternoon. "What complaints?" "Diane, please, you have to listen to me." The line went dead. I sat there, staring at my phone, my mind racing. 6 months ago, I'd structured the Westbrook deal. Pinnacle Investment Group was funding $330 million for a massive expansion. It had taken me 4 months of negotiations, legal reviews, and creative problem-solving to put it together. The crown jewel of my career. Part of that structure included a unique security clause I'd designed. It required the original structuring executive's biometric authentication every 90 days. My fingerprint. My physical presence. Without it, the insurance backing became void. I'd built it that way to prevent fraud, to ensure no unauthorized changes could be made to the funding distribution. It was brilliant. Everyone had praised it. Today was day 89. The funding meeting this afternoon was the final authentication before the first major distribution of funds. If I didn't authenticate in person, The insurance backing would evaporate. The entire deal would collapse. Pinnacle would walk away. And Bernard Walsh, Pinnacle's lawyer, was notorious for being absolutely ruthless about contract compliance. He would check every single detail. He would review the security protocols. He would verify everything. I started my car and drove back to the building entrance. Maybe if I could just talk to the security guard. Explain the situation. Tom had been working the front desk for 3 years. He knew me. I pulled up to the entrance and got out of my car. Tom saw me through the glass doors. His expression shifted from recognition to discomfort. He stepped outside. Sadie, I can't let you in. Tom, please? I just need 5 minutes with Howard, the CFO. It's about a business deal. If I don't get inside, the company loses $330 million. I have orders. You're banned from the premises. He looked genuinely sorry. Let me call my supervisor. He radioed for his supervisor. I waited, hope flickering. Maybe the supervisor would understand. Maybe someone would listen. The supervisor arrived 2 minutes later, a man named Gerald I'd only met once or twice. He looked at me with suspicion. Ma'am, you need to leave the property immediately. I'm trying to prevent a catastrophic business failure. Please, just call Howard Bennett. Tell him Sadie needs to speak with him about the Westbrook authentication. Derek Harding sent a company-wide memo an hour ago about your erratic behavior. You're not permitted on this property. If you don't leave immediately, I'll call the police. Other employees were gathering inside, watching through the glass. Some had their phones out, probably recording. The humiliation burned through me. I got back in my car and drove away, my vision blurring with tears of frustration and rage. I parked at a coffee shop 2 blocks away and opened my laptop. I needed to think. My work email was already deactivated, but I checked my personal email. There was one message, forwarded from my work account before it was shut down, sent 1 hour ago. It was from Derek to the entire executive team, the board of directors, and department heads. Subject: Urgent security matter. Sadie Fletcher. The email detailed what he called my pattern of concerning behavior over the past weeks. He claimed I'd been creating phantom clauses in contracts to maintain control over deals, that he'd discovered evidence of embezzlement, that when he'd confronted me, I'd become hostile and threatening. He positioned himself as the hero who'd uncovered my scheme just in time to prevent further damage. He wrote that the Westbrook insurance clause was fraudulent, something I'd created to extort the company, that he had documentation proving I'd been in contact with competitors, possibly selling confidential information. The funding meeting would proceed without me because my clause was illegitimate and would be removed from the contract. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my laptop. He hadn't just fired me. He'd framed me as a criminal. And in 30 minutes, the funding meeting would start. Bernard Walsh would verify the authentication protocols, discover I wasn't there, and the deal would explode. Everyone would think it was my fault. I sat in that coffee shop, my untouched latte growing cold, and did the only thing I could think of: research. If Derek had done this deliberately, there had to be a trail. I pulled up LinkedIn and searched for Derek Harding. His profile showed he'd worked at Titan Financial until 3 months ago. Titan Financial, Pinnacle Investment Group's direct competitor. They'd been one of the other firms bidding for the Westbrook contract. We'd beaten them. I dug deeper. His departure from Titan was listed as a standard career move, but the timing felt wrong. He'd left a senior position at a major firm to come to our mid-sized company as VP of Operations. That was essentially a lateral move at best. Why? I searched for news about his hiring. There was almost nothing. No press release, no announcement in industry publications, just a quiet addition to our company directory 3 weeks ago. Patricia had hired him directly. I'd heard through the office grapevine that it was based on a personal recommendation, but no one knew from whom. Across the street, I could see our office building. The Pinnacle team would be arriving right now. Bernard Walsh with his leather briefcase and his reputation for destroying deals over technicalities. Howard would be nervous, shuffling papers. Patricia would be putting on her confident CEO smile. I imagined Derek in the conference room, sitting at the table like he belonged there. Maybe he'd volunteered to present the authentication protocols, eager to show his value. Maybe he was genuinely incompetent and didn't understand what he'd done. Or maybe this was exactly what he wanted. They'd call up the documentation. Howard would explain the insurance clause structure. Bernard would nod, making notes. Then he'd ask the critical question. Where is the structuring executive for authentication? Derek would smile. Sadie Fletcher was terminated this afternoon for cause. The clause was fraudulent. We have evidence of her misconduct. Bernard would close his notebook. He wouldn't care about internal corporate drama. He cared about contract terms. The contract explicitly required my authentication. It was in writing. Legally binding. Without it, the insurance backing was void. Without insurance backing, Pinnacle wouldn't release the funds. This meeting is over, Bernard would say. And he'd walk out. My phone rang. Howard. Finally. Do you have any idea what you've done? His voice was shaking with fury. Howard, I tried to warn you. I called. I texted. I came to the building. The deal is dead, Sadie. $330 million. Gone. Bernard walked out 20 minutes ago. He said, without your authentication, the insurance is void. Pinnacle is pulling out entirely. I know. That's what I was trying to tell you. Derek had me escorted out 2 hours before the meeting. He blocked me from all systems. I couldn't reach anyone. That's not what Derek says. He says you've been in contact with Titan Financial. He has phone records. He says you sabotaged this deal deliberately. That's insane. Howard, you've known me for 7 years. He showed me documentation. Calls to Titan executives. Emails discussing confidential information. What am I supposed to think? Those are fabricated. Howard, please. You have to listen to me. The legal team is reviewing everything. If this is sabotage, we're suing you personally. Do you understand? $330 million. We'll take everything you have and more. I didn't do anything wrong. Then why did Bernard have to check the security log to find out you'd been escorted out? If you knew the meeting was happening, why didn't you find a way to be there? Why didn't you fight harder to warn us? I tried. Derek blocked me from everything. I was at the building. Security threatened to call the police. We'll let the lawyers sort it out. He hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, trying to breathe. This couldn't be happening. This was a nightmare. I went back to my laptop and started digging deeper into Derek's background. I pulled up corporate filings, business registrations, partnership records. It took an hour of searching through public databases, but I found it. A shell company called Meridian Consulting LLC. Registered in Delaware 4 months ago. One of the listed officers was Derek Harding. I traced Meridian's business relationships. There were 3 layers of corporate ownership, but at the top, majority funding came from Titan Financial. Derek was still on Titan's payroll. He'd never really left. This wasn't incompetence. This was corporate sabotage. Derek had been planted at our company specifically to destroy the Pinnacle deal. Titan wanted the Westbrook contract. If our deal fell through, Westbrook would need new funding. Titan would swoop in as the savior. Derek would get paid a massive bonus for successful sabotage. His LinkedIn showed 3 previous companies where he'd worked for less than 6 months each. I searched for news about those companies. 2 of them had major deals fall through right around the time Derek left. One of those deals later went to Titan. He'd done this before, multiple times. This was his specialty. I compiled everything I'd found. Screenshots of corporate filings. Timeline analysis. Documentation showing the pattern. It took me 2 hours. But I had a solid case. I wrote a detailed email to Patricia, Howard, and the board of directors. I explained everything, attached all the evidence, hit send. My phone buzzed 10 seconds later. Message undeliverable. I tried again. Same result. I tried sending to individual board members. Every single one bounced back. Undeliverable. I checked my personal email settings. Everything looked normal. I tried sending a test email to myself. That worked fine. Then another email arrived. From a law firm I didn't recognize. Subject: cease and desist. I opened it with growing dread. Derek's lawyers were accusing me of harassment, defamation, and criminal hacking. They claimed I'd illegally accessed corporate records. The letter threatened immediate legal action and a restraining order if I made any further contact with anyone at the company. It threatened criminal charges for computer fraud. My personal email had been blacklisted by the company server. Derek had anticipated my move and blocked it. Every email I tried to send to someone at the company was being rejected automatically. I tried calling Patricia again. Diane answered. I've been instructed to inform you that all further contact must go through legal counsel. Any additional calls will be documented as harassment. She hung up. I tried calling board members directly. All their phones went to voicemail. I left messages. None were returned. Derek had shut down every avenue I had. He'd framed me as a criminal and a saboteur. He'd blocked my ability to communicate the truth, and I'd just given him ammunition by researching his background. His lawyers would claim I'd hacked into corporate systems to find that information. I sat in that coffee shop until they closed at 9, my laptop screen showing those undeliverable messages. I'd found the truth. I could prove Derek's sabotage. But I couldn't make anyone listen. I drove to my apartment in a daze. It was almost 10 at night. I should eat something, but the thought of food made me nauseous. I fell asleep on my couch in my clothes, too exhausted to even make it to my bedroom. The pounding on my door woke me at 9 the next morning. I stumbled to answer it, still disoriented. 2 detectives stood there. Badges out. Zadie Fletcher? Yes? We have a warrant to seize your electronic devices. Derek Harding filed a criminal complaint. Unauthorized access to corporate systems. And theft of trade secrets. I let them in because I had no choice. They took my laptop, my tablet, my external hard drives. Everything. All my evidence of Derek's sabotage was now in police custody. They told me not to leave town and handed me a receipt for the seized items. After they left, I sat on my couch staring at my empty desk where my laptop had been. This was real. I was being investigated for crimes I didn't commit. I turned on my phone. 53 text messages. 68 emails, most from reporters. I ignored them and checked the news instead. The headline made me physically sick. Insurance executive accused of embezzlement, computer fraud. The article painted me as a disgruntled employee who'd created fake contract clauses to maintain control. It claimed I'd tried to sabotage a $330 million deal when my scheme was discovered. My name, my face, my entire professional history were public. The article included anonymous quotes that were obviously from Derek. We discovered evidence of financial improprieties and immediately took action to protect the company. Unfortunately, the damage to this particular deal was already done. I scrolled through the comment section, even though I knew I shouldn't. Hundreds of people calling me a criminal, a thief, a fraud. Someone had already created a fake Twitter account in my name, posting confessions that were obviously fabricated. The account had thousands of followers. My phone rang. My brother, James. Are you okay? Mom saw the news. It's not true. None of it. I'm being framed. Framed? Sadie, there are articles everywhere. They're saying you stole money. I didn't steal anything. The new VP sabotaged the deal and blamed me. There was a long pause. Mom had a panic attack this morning. Dad had to call her doctor. Guilt twisted in my stomach. I'm sorry. I'll call them and explain. Maybe don't. Not right now. Dad thinks you should get a lawyer and stop talking to people, including us. Until this is resolved. James, you're my brother. You know me. Do you really think I'd do this? Another pause. Longer this time. I don't know what to think. The evidence sounds pretty damning. There is no evidence because I didn't do anything wrong. Then why did the police take your computer? Because Derek filed a false complaint to cover his tracks. Okay. Look. Just get a lawyer. Don't call Mom and Dad yet. Let things calm down. He hung up before I could respond. I spent the next 3 hours calling lawyers. The ones who specialized in white-collar crime. They all said the same thing. They'd need a retainer, $10,000, $20,000, $60,000 for the partner at the top firm. I had $12,000 in savings. $12,000 against Derek's unlimited resources and corporate backing. One lawyer, Grace Thornton, agreed to a consultation for $250. I met her at her office that afternoon. She reviewed Derek's complaints, the news articles, the police warrant. Her expression grew grimmer with each page. Someone built a very sophisticated frame, she said. These fabricated phone records showing calls to competitors. Doctored emails. Fake financial transactions suggesting you received payments. This took planning and resources. It was Derek. He's been planted by Titan Financial to sabotage our company. Can you prove that? I had proof. Screenshots, corporate filings, timeline analysis. The police took my laptop this morning. Grace sighed. This is going to be expensive. Discovery, expert witnesses, forensic accountants to disprove the financial claims. We're looking at $60,000 minimum. I have $12,000. I'm sorry. I can't take this case pro bono. It's too complex and time-intensive. She closed the folder. My honest advice? Consider a plea deal. The DA might offer reduced charges if you cooperate. It's not fair. But fighting this could bankrupt you. Even if you win, I'm not pleading guilty to something I didn't do. Then, you need to find money for legal defense. Crowdfunding maybe? But, with the negative press, that'll be difficult. She stood, signaling the consultation was over. I paid her $250 on my credit card and left. 2 days later, I was served with a civil lawsuit. My former company was suing me for $330 million in damages. They claimed my fraudulent clause and deliberate sabotage had cost them the deal. They wanted full reimbursement plus punitive damages, $330 million. I had $12,000 in savings and a 10-year-old car. Even if I worked every day for the rest of my life, I couldn't pay a fraction of that. The lawsuit would bankrupt me regardless of the outcome. The legal bills alone would destroy me financially. I sat in my apartment that night, lights off, staring at the lawsuit papers. My phone kept buzzing with reporters requesting interviews. I'd stopped answering. Then I saw the announcement on my company's website. Derek Harding promoted to Executive Vice President. Patricia's quote, praising his integrity and quick action to protect the company. He was getting a bonus for catching the supposed fraud. He wasn't just winning. He was being celebrated as a hero. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I know Derek sabotaged the deal, but I'm not helping you. Good luck. It was signed with initials. B.W. Bernard Walsh. Pinnacle's lawyer. The one person who could corroborate my story. He knew. He'd walked out of that meeting because the authentication wasn't there. He'd seen what happened, but he wouldn't help me. I called the number. It went to a voicemail that didn't identify the owner. I left a message anyway. Please. You know I'm being framed. Why won't you help? An hour later, another text from the same number. Because I'm working for Titan now. They hired Pinnacle to consult on the replacement deal with Westbrook. Derek gets his payout. I get mine. You're destroyed. Sometimes the bad guys win. Stay quiet and maybe the criminal charges go away. Fight. and will bury you completely. Then one more message. We've already approached 2 more companies Derek identified as targets. He's very good at this. I read those messages 3 times. Bernard knew everything. He knew about Derek's sabotage, Titan's scheme, the pattern of corporate destruction, and he was profiting from it. I had no allies, no resources, no way to fight. I was facing financial ruin, criminal charges, and now confirmation that even people who knew the truth wouldn't help me. I looked up at my ceiling and tried not to cry. I'd lost. Job applications became my full-time occupation, though I knew it was pointless. I applied to 63 positions in the first week. Finance, risk management, insurance consulting. Everything I was qualified to do. Every single application was rejected within hours. Some companies sent automated responses. Others included notes. Thank you for your interest, but we've identified concerns in your background check. Due to your ongoing legal issues, we cannot proceed. We require candidates with clean, professional records. I tried temp agencies. The recruiter looked at my resume with interest until she ran my name through their system. Her face changed. I'm sorry. You've been flagged. We can't place you. Flagged by who? It's an industry-wide database. Companies report issues to protect each other from problematic employees. She wouldn't make eye contact. There's nothing I can do. I applied for retail jobs. Coffee shops. Grocery stores. Anything. They all ran background checks. They all found the news articles. None of them called back. My unemployment claim was contested by my former company. They claimed I'd been fired for cause, which meant no benefits. The appeals process would take weeks. Then the financial catastrophe really hit. My landlord received an anonymous letter. Someone sent him copies of the news articles about my alleged crimes. He served me with an eviction notice. 30 days. He didn't want a criminal in his building. I tried to explain I hadn't been convicted of anything, but he'd already made up his mind. The lease had a clause about criminal activity. The notice stood. 2 days later, my bank froze my accounts. The civil lawsuit included a motion to preserve assets. Until the courts determined whether I owed $330 million, my $12,000 in savings was locked. I couldn't access my own money. I had $342 cash in my wallet. My credit cards were maxed from legal consultations. My car insurance company sent a non-renewal notice. They'd reviewed my file and determined I was high risk. They wouldn't insure me anymore. I needed a prescription refill for my thyroid medication. With insurance through my old job, it cost $15. Without insurance, the pharmacy wanted $310. I bought it, leaving me with $32. I started selling furniture on Facebook Marketplace. My couch, my kitchen table, my bed frame. I made $800 over 2 weeks. It disappeared immediately into food and gas. I took my grandmother's pearl necklace, the one she'd given me before she died, to a pawn shop. The guy offered me $150. It was worth at least $1,000. I took the money anyway. At the grocery store, I counted out coins to pay for rice and beans. The woman behind me in line made a disgusted sound and loudly told her friend, "Some people just don't plan ahead." I wanted to tell her I'd had $70,000 in salary 6 weeks ago. I'd had a career and a future. Instead, I counted out my pennies and tried not to cry. The announcement came on a Tuesday morning. Westbrook Industries had signed a new funding deal. $350 million from Titan Financial. Derek Harding was quoted as being instrumental in facilitating the partnership. The article praised the collaborative relationship between the companies. Derek got another promotion, Chief Strategy Officer. The press release mentioned his innovative approach and his commitment to corporate integrity. I sat in the public library, using their free Wi-Fi, and read that article 5 times. Everything I'd suspected was now public, but framed as legitimate business. No one saw the sabotage. They saw a successful deal and a rising corporate star. The same article mentioned my former company was recovering from internal fraud issues. I was the unnamed villain in Derek's success story. My brother James called that night. I'd been hoping he'd changed his mind. That he believed me. Mom wants you to know she loves you. But she can't talk to you right now. The stress is too much. Her doctor is worried about her blood pressure. James, please. I need my family. You need to fix whatever you did. Until this is resolved, it's better if you keep your distance. For Mom's sake. I didn't do anything wrong. The news says different. Look, I've gotta go. Take care of yourself. He hung up. My college roommate Amy stopped responding to texts. I found out later through mutual friends that she'd gotten a job at Titan Financial. She'd chosen career security over our friendship. A guy I dated 2 years ago posted on social media. Dodged a bullet with this one, with a link to an article about me. People liked it. People commented agreeing with him. I tried creating a dating app profile because isolation was crushing me. Every match unmatched within a day. They'd Google my name and disappear. My neighbor in the apartment building, who used to chat with me about her cats, started avoiding eye contact. She'd see me in the hallway, and suddenly remember she forgot something. Turning around, I was becoming invisible, erased. My entire social network had collapsed. The stress manifested physically. I couldn't sleep more than 3 or 4 hours a night. I'd wake up at 2 in the morning, heart pounding, thinking about the lawsuit, the criminal charges, the eviction, the destroyed career. My hair started falling out, not all at once, but enough that my brush was filled with strands every morning. I'd run my hand through my hair and come away with a small clump. I lost 20 pounds in a month, not because I wanted to. Because I had no appetite and couldn't afford much food anyway. My clothes hung loose. Dark circles appeared under my eyes. I had a panic attack at the grocery store. Just suddenly couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Had to abandon my cart and run outside. I sat on the curb, hyperventilating, while people walked past like I wasn't there. I thought about going to the emergency room, but I had no insurance. An ER visit would cost thousands I didn't have. So I sat in my car, trying to breathe. Trying to convince my body I wasn't dying. Then the letter arrived from the Professional Certification Board. My Chartered Property Casualty Underwriter designation and my Associate in Risk Management certification were both suspended pending investigation. 15 years of studying, testing, continuing education. Gone. The investigation was being led by a board that included an executive from Titan Financial. Without those certifications, I couldn't work in insurance or risk management even if someone would hire me. Derek had destroyed my present and my future. A recruiter contacted me about a position in Seattle. Different industry. Fresh start. The salary was $35,000 a year, entry level. I'd been making $70,000. But it was something. The catch? I needed to relocate within 3 weeks. First month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, moving costs. At least $6,000. I had $800. I asked if they could help with relocation expenses. The recruiter said no. I asked if I could start remotely until I saved enough to move. The position required in-person presence from day one. Another escape path closing. I sat in my nearly empty apartment that night. 30 days of eviction notice almost expired, and realized I'd reached the absolute bottom. No job, no money, no family, no friends, no home in a few days, no career prospects, no path forward. I had nothing left to lose, which meant I had nothing left to hold me back from doing something desperate. The eviction happened on a cold morning in early November. The sheriff arrived at 8 with the paperwork. I'd already packed what I could fit in my car. Everything else sat in garbage bags on the sidewalk. My neighbors watched from their windows. Some had their phones out, probably recording. I loaded my car systematically. Clothes, laptop bag with the laptop that police had returned but was now useless without internet. A box of papers. Another box of personal items. My grandmother's photo albums. That was it. Everything I owned fit in a 12-year-old Honda Civic. The rest went to Goodwill or the dumpster. Furniture I couldn't sell. Kitchen items, books. My life condensed to what could be donated or thrown away. I drove to a supermarket parking lot and slept in my car that first night. I reclined the driver's seat, as far as it would go, wrapped myself in a blanket, and tried to sleep. The parking lot lights were too bright. Every car that passed woke me up. At 3 a.m, a security guard tapped on my window and told me I had to move. No overnight parking. I drove to a rest stop off the highway. Tried again. Slept maybe 2 hours. The next day, I went to a women's shelter. The intake coordinator was kind but efficient. She asked questions. I told her an abbreviated version of my story. She didn't judge. We have space for 30 days maximum. After that, you'll need to find alternative housing. Curfew is 8 at night. No exceptions unless you're working and provide documentation. Shared rooms. Communal bathroom. Breakfast at 7. Dinner at 6. I signed the paperwork and was assigned a bed in a room with 3 other women. The room was small, maybe 12 feet by 15 feet, with 2 bunk beds. I took the top bunk in the corner. My roommate on the bottom bunk was named Sharon. She was maybe 50, with gray-streaked hair and tired eyes. She smiled when I climbed past her to my bunk. "First time?" she asked. "That obvious? You've still got that shell-shocked look." "Don't worry. You adjust. What's your story?" I gave her the summary. Corporate job, wrongful termination, framed for crimes I didn't commit. She listened without interrupting. "Pharmaceutical company for me," she said. "I reported safety violations. They fired me and blacklisted me industry-wide. That was 3 years ago. The company settled with the families whose kids got hurt from the drugs I reported. Made them sign NDAs. But my name is still dirt. 3 years? Some fights you can't win. They have more money, more lawyers, more power. They don't just fire you, they erase you." I lay on my bunk that night, staring at the ceiling 6 inches from my face, listening to 3 other women breathe in the darkness. The shelter smelled like industrial cleaner and too many bodies in too small a space. But it was warm, it was safe, it was more than I'd had. I spent my days at the public library. Free Wi-Fi. Quiet space. Bathrooms. I applied for jobs I was overqualified for and got rejected. I researched legal options I couldn't afford. I read news about Derek's continued rise. On day 5 at the shelter, I was scrolling through social media on a library computer and saw the announcement. Derek Harding engaged to Claire Donovan, Patricia's daughter. I stared at that post for a full minute. The engagement photo showed them at some gala. Claire in a designer dress. Derek in a perfectly tailored suit. They were smiling, holding champagne glasses, standing in front of what looked like a yacht. It all made sense now. Derek's quick hiring. Patricia's absolute trust in him. Why Patricia wouldn't listen to any accusations against Derek. He'd been dating the CEO's daughter. Maybe the relationship started before he was even hired. Maybe Patricia hired him as a favor to her daughter. Derek had ingratiated himself into the CEO's family. He'd positioned himself as the future son-in-law. Patricia wasn't just protecting an employee. She was protecting her daughter's fiancé. The engagement announcement said the wedding was planned for late December. 6 weeks away. A society wedding. The article gushed about the venue. The guest list. The designer dress. I was homeless in a shelter. Derek was planning a wedding on a yacht. The injustice of it burned through me like acid. I closed the browser and walked out of the library because I was going to start screaming if I stayed. 2 days later, I received an email on my phone. From the district attorney's office. Formal charges being filed. Computer fraud. Theft of trade secrets. Corporate espionage. Arraignment scheduled in 10 days. A public defender was automatically assigned. His name was Frank Hutchinson. I called him from a payphone outside a gas station. "Miss Fletcher, I've reviewed your file." He sounded exhausted. "The evidence against you looks substantial. My recommendation is to take the plea deal the DA is offering." "I'm innocent." "I understand, but trials are expensive and unpredictable. The DA is offering 5 years probation, restitution of $100,000, and a permanent ban from the finance industry. If you go to trial and lose, you're looking at 10 years in federal prison. $100,000? I don't have that. And I didn't do anything wrong. The alternative is to take this to trial. You'll need expert witnesses, forensic accountants, computer specialists. We're talking hundreds of thousands in legal costs. Your former employer has unlimited resources. They can bury you in paperwork and motions. So my choices are: admit to crimes I didn't commit, or go bankrupt fighting charges based on fabricated evidence." "Yes, that's the reality. I'm sorry. You have until next week to decide." He hung up. I stood at that payphone for 10 minutes, receiver in hand, trying to figure out which cliff I was supposed to jump off. That evening, back at the shelter, I was sitting in the common area when I got a text from an unknown number. "Can we meet?" "It's Jenny." Jenny, my former assistant. I texted back an address of a park 3 blocks away. She arrived 20 minutes later, looking around nervously like she expected to be followed. We sat on a bench far from anyone else. "I'm so sorry," she said immediately. "I should have said something weeks ago. I was terrified." "It's okay." "It's not okay. Derek threatened everyone who was close to you. Said he'd fire us if we had any contact with you. I have student loans. I'm a single mom. I couldn't risk it. But I can't sleep anymore. My conscience is eating me alive. Do you have evidence? Anything that proves Derek framed me?" She shook her head. "No, just knowledge that everyone knows something is wrong. People whisper about it. But no one will speak up. Derek has too much power now. And with him marrying Claire, he's basically untouchable." "Claire is pregnant," Jenny added. "That's why they're rushing the wedding." I processed that. Derek needed the Titan payout before the wedding. That's why the timing was so precise. Jenny nodded. "I don't know details. But yes, everything was planned. The sabotage, the framing, all of it. The company's stock has been dropping," she continued. "Board members are questioning Patricia's leadership. There are rumors the company might be sold or go bankrupt within 6 months. People are updating their resumes. If the company fails, there might be investigations. Everything could come out. Maybe. But that's months away. You'll already be in prison or bankrupted by then. The timing is all wrong." She gave me her personal phone number, hugged me, and left. It helped to have validation, to know I wasn't crazy. But it didn't change anything. I walked back to the shelter, checked in before the 8 p.m. curfew, and lay on my bunk. I had 6 days to decide. Prison or a plea deal that would brand me a criminal forever. I stared at the ceiling and made my choice. If I was going down, I wasn't going alone. Derek was going to pay. I had no resources, no evidence, no allies, and no time. But I'd create a miracle out of nothing. Because sometimes the only way through hell is forward. I spent 3 consecutive days at the library. 12 hours each day. I researched corporate law, insurance regulations, SEC filing requirements. I went through Derek's history with obsessive detail. I found 3 other companies where he'd worked briefly. At each one, a major deal had collapsed right around the time Derek left. 2 of those failed deals later went to Titan Financial. Same pattern every time. New executive arrives, key person suddenly terminated. Deal falls apart. Titan benefits. But I couldn't prove the connection. not in a way that would hold up legally. I researched Bernard Walsh next. He'd represented both Pinnacle and Titan in various transactions over the past 2 years, switching between clients who were direct competitors. It might be a conflict of interest, but it lived in a legal gray area. Lawyers did it all the time with proper disclosures. Then I found something in my original insurance clause documentation. When I'd structured the Westbrook deal, I'd filed the security protocols with the State Insurance Commission. It was required for any policy over $100 million. That filing was public record. Dated 6 months ago. I printed the document. It proved my clause wasn't fraudulent. It was official, filed with a government agency, approved by regulators. It existed before Derek ever joined the company. But it didn't prove Derek's sabotage. It just proved I wasn't lying about the clause. I needed more. On day 4, I did something desperate. I contacted a reporter. Tyler Grant had written one of the articles about me. His piece had been less sensational than others, more focused on facts. He was known for investigative journalism. I sent him everything I'd found. The pattern across multiple companies. Derek's hidden connections to Titan. The insurance commission filing that proved my clause was legitimate. I laid out the entire conspiracy. He agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown. I used my last $10 to buy us both coffee. Tyler was maybe 35, wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, carrying a worn laptop bag. He listened to my story without interrupting. Looked through my documentation carefully. "This is interesting," he said finally. "But it's not enough. I'd need corporate emails, insider testimony, actual financial transfers between Derek and Titan. You have circumstantial evidence and a theory. Please, you have to dig deeper. I'm being arraigned in 3 days. I'm a business reporter, not a crusader. If I run this story and I'm wrong, Derek's lawyers will sue me in my paper. He has unlimited resources. I have a mortgage and a career to protect. He's going to keep doing this. There will be more victims. Probably. But I need proof. What if I can get you insider access? Real evidence?" Tyler laughed. "You're banned from the building. Security has your photo. How would you possibly get inside?" I took a breath. "The arraignment is in 3 days. I have nothing to lose. I'll find a way." Tyler studied me for a moment. "If you get real evidence, actual proof, I'll run with it. But I won't risk my reputation on a hunch." He gave me a secure email address and left. I sat there with my cold coffee and faced reality. I needed evidence that was inside the company's computer systems. But I couldn't get anywhere near that building. Or could I? The building had night security. But cleaning crews came through every evening. Different entrance, different security protocols. I'd seen them dozens of times during late nights at work. I contacted a temp agency that specialized in cleaning services. Applied for work. They didn't run deep background checks, just verified I could legally work in the United States. I got hired within 2 days. My first 3 nights, they assigned me to different buildings. Office complexes, a hotel, a medical facility. I learned the routines. How to move invisibly. How cleaning crews operated. On the 4th night, I got assigned to my old building. I tied my hair back differently. Wore thick framed glasses I'd bought at a dollar store. No makeup. Baggy gray uniform. I looked completely different from the professional woman who'd worked there months ago. The night entrance was on the side of the building. A different security guard, one I'd never met. He barely glanced at my ID badge from the cleaning company, waved me through. I was inside. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. I pushed the cleaning cart down the hallway, just another invisible worker. Elevators up to the executive floor. The hallways were empty at 11 at night. I approached Derek's office first. The door was locked. I tried Patricia's office. The door opened. I slipped inside, leaving the door cracked slightly so I could hear footsteps. Patricia's computer was locked, but papers covered her desk. I used my phone to photograph everything: financial reports, meeting notes, a memo about the Westbrook deal, voices in the hallway. My whole body froze. The voices got closer. I ducked behind the desk, crouching in the small space beneath it, trying not to breathe. The footsteps entered the office. "Just leaving this for Patricia." Derek's voice. "She needs to review it before the board meeting." He was on his phone, talking to someone. "The wedding is handled. The payout from Titan clears next week. After that, I'm done with this place. Let Patricia deal with the aftermath when the SEC investigation hits. By then, I'll be in the Caymans." He set something on the desk above me. A file folder. I could see his shoes 2 feet away. Claire's pregnancy is useful timing, actually. Patricia won't suspect anything until I'm long gone. The company's going under anyway. Not my problem. He left. The door clicked shut. I waited 30 seconds, then stood on shaking legs. He was planning to flee the country. The wedding was in 5 days. My arraignment was in 3. If Derek left the country, I'd never clear my name. I grabbed the file he'd left on the desk, photographed every page. Financial documents that made Patricia look complicit in fraud. Derek was framing his future mother-in-law, creating a fall guy for his crimes. I needed to get out. I turned toward the door. My elbow knocked a pen cup off the desk. It hit the floor with a crash. Pens scattered everywhere. "Is someone in there?" Derek's voice from the hallway. Lights flicked on. He appeared in the doorway. His face went from confusion to recognition to rage in 3 seconds. "You." I ran, burst past him into the hallway. He grabbed for me, missed. "Security! Stop her!" Alarms started blaring. I abandoned the cleaning cart, sprinted for the stairwell. Derek was chasing me, yelling. His voice echoed in the stairwell. "She's in the building! Call the police!" I hit the first floor at full speed. Crashed through the side door. Night air, parking lot. My car 3 blocks away where I'd left it. I ran until my lungs burned. Got in my car. Sped away. My phone buzzed with news alerts. Warrant issued for my arrest. Criminal trespass. Breaking and entering. Violating the ban from company premises. I'd gone from terrible to catastrophic. But the photos on my phone might be enough. I pulled over 3 blocks away. Uploaded everything to a secure cloud. Sent it all to Tyler Grant with a message. "This is it. Derek fleeing country after wedding in 5 days. Now or never." His response came 2 minutes later. "Getting legal team review now." This could work. I didn't go back to the shelter. Police would look there. I drove to a rest stop an hour away, parked in a dark corner, and tried to sleep in my car. Every set of headlights made me jump. Morning came with another news alert. My face on a warrant. Breaking and entering. Violating protective orders. Derek had given an interview. This disturbed individual won't accept reality. She's escalating. We fear for employee safety. I had maybe 48 hours before they caught me. I checked my email. Tyler had responded. Working with colleague and legal team, verifying documents, cross-referencing with SEC filings. Found discrepancies in company financial statements. Contacted former Titan employees, one willing to talk anonymously. This is big. Story goes live tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. Derek's wedding was in 3 days. My arraignment was supposed to be today, but I'd obviously missed it. Additional warrant for failure to appear. I drove to a different rest stop. Used the bathroom. Bought coffee and a muffin with change I found in my car. Sat in my car, refreshing news sites on my phone. 6 o'clock the next morning, the story dropped. Corporate saboteurs' multi-million-dollar scheme exposed. How one executive destroyed deals for profit. Tyler's article laid everything out. Derek's pattern across 4 companies. His continued employment with Titan through shell companies. The fabricated evidence used to frame me. The state insurance commission filing that proved my clause was legitimate. Quotes from anonymous former Titan employees confirming the scheme. The article included copies of the documents I'd photographed. The ones showing Derek planned to flee to the Cayman Islands. His conversation about the SEC investigation. The files framing Patricia for fraud. It went viral within an hour. National news picked it up by noon. Insurance industry, rocked by sabotage scandal. Major outlets were running follow-ups. The SEC announced an immediate investigation into both Titan Financial and my former company. The FBI opened a criminal investigation into Derek. Derek issued a denial through his lawyer. But the evidence was overwhelming. His lawyer's statement was weak, defensive, full of words like alleged and misunderstood. By 3 p.m, Patricia called an emergency board meeting. The board voted to terminate Derek immediately. Banned from all company premises. Full cooperation with authorities. Patricia resigned as CEO. The board had no choice. Her judgment was compromised. She'd hired and protected Derek, put him in a position to do massive damage. Claire broke off the engagement. That was leaked to gossip sites within hours. Photos of Derek's belongings in boxes on the curb, outside Claire's apartment. Titan Financial's stock dropped 30% in one day. Trading was halted, pending investigation. Their executives were lawyering up. Bernard Walsh was suspended from practicing law pending an ethics review. Multiple bar complaints filed. By 6 that evening, Derek was arrested at the airport, trying to board a private plane to the Caymans with $2 million in wire transfers and a fake passport. The FBI had been watching him since the article dropped. They let him try to run. Criminal charges: fraud, corporate espionage, conspiracy, identity theft, witness intimidation. He was denied bail. Flight risk. The district attorney called my public defender. All charges against me were dropped immediately. Full dismissal. The DA issued a public apology. Said they'd been operating on false information provided by Derek. Police returned all my property. My former company's new interim CEO, brought in by the board, called me personally. Offered full reinstatement, with back pay. Offered a settlement for wrongful termination. $1.2 million. A public statement exonerating me completely. The State Insurance Commission issued a formal finding. My clause was not only proper but exemplary. They used it as a model for future insurance protocols. My professional certifications were immediately reinstated. The investigation was closed with a formal apology. News outlets that had published articles calling me a criminal now ran retractions and follow-ups. Wrongfully accused executive vindicated. I gave interviews. Told my story. Became the face of corporate whistleblower protection. Job offers started coming in. Consulting firms, insurance companies, legal firms wanted me to advise on fraud prevention. The salary offers were double what I'd made before. James called. Apologized through tears. Said Mom and Dad wanted to see me. Family dinner that weekend. Amy sent a long email. Apologized for abandoning me. Said she understood if I never wanted to speak to her again. I wrote back. Forgiveness takes time, but I appreciated the apology. The shelter coordinator called. Said she'd seen the news. Was proud of me. If I ever wanted to volunteer, help other women who'd been wronged by powerful people, they'd love to have me. I took a position at a different company. Vice President of Ethics and Compliance. $75,000 salary, full benefits, stock options. My job was to build systems that prevented what Derek had done to me. 6 months later, I sat in a federal courtroom and watched Derek's sentencing. 15 years in federal prison. He showed no remorse. Smirked when the judge read the sentence. Like he still thought he'd beaten the system somehow. I looked him in the eyes as the marshals led him away. He looked back. No recognition. No acknowledgement. Like I'd never mattered at all. But I mattered. I'd won. He was in prison. I had my career back. I had my life back. The hardest lesson wasn't about corporate corruption or betrayal. It was learning that sometimes being right isn't enough. Truth doesn't automatically win. You have to fight for it with everything you have, even when you have nothing left. I almost gave up a dozen times. When I was homeless. When my family abandoned me. When every door closed. But every person Derek had hurt, every future victim I could prevent, they deserved my fight. Justice delayed isn't justice denied if you refuse to stop pushing. I lost everything and rebuilt from zero, but that meant I owned my victory completely. No one could take it away this time. Some battles require losing yourself to find out who you really are. I found out I was stronger than anyone, including myself, ever knew. Now I mentor people who've been wrongfully accused. I help them navigate systems designed to crush them. I use my story to change corporate policies, to strengthen whistleblower protections, to make sure the next person has a better chance than I did. Last week, a young analyst reached out. She'd been blamed for a deal gone wrong at another company. Same pattern. New executive, sudden termination, fabricated evidence. I recognized it immediately. We're building her case. She won't face what I faced, because I'm here now, because I survived, because I refused to let Derek win. That's the real victory, not just my freedom, not just Derek's prison sentence, but the knowledge that I turned my pain into purpose. I made sure my suffering meant something. Have you ever faced a situation where powerful people tried to silence you or destroy your reputation? How did you find the strength to keep fighting when everything seemed hopeless? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about ordinary people fighting extraordinary battles. And share this with anyone who needs to know that truth can win, even when it takes everything you have. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you're stronger than you know, that justice is worth fighting for, and that sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest victories. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and never stop fighting for what's right.